Jake Morrison walked through the main street of New Eden Colony, watching the morning sun rise over the golden wheat fields. The air smelled fresh and clean, filled with the scent of growing crops and blooming flowers. Children ran past him, laughing as they hurried to school. Their parents waved from shop windows and garden gates. Another beautiful day, Jake said to himself, smiling at the peaceful scene. He had been the colony administrator for 8 years now, and New Eden still. Felt like paradise to him. Lisa Grant met him at the medical center, her white coat bright against the morning light. Jake, the harvest reports are in. We're looking at our best year yet. The cornfields are producing 30% more than last season. That's wonderful news, Jake replied. How are the new families settling in? The Johnson family loves their new farm. Little Tommy Johnson told me yesterday that he never wants to leave New Eden. And the Martinez family is already planning to expand their orchard next spring. Jake nodded happily. New Eden had grown from a small settlement of 500 people to a thriving colony of 50,000. They had built schools, hospitals, parks, and community centers. The colony was completely self-sufficient, growing all their own food and manufacturing everything they needed. Dan Cooper, the security chief, joined them as they walked toward the administrative building. Morning, Jake. Lisa. Everything's quiet. Today, just had to help old Mr. Peterson find his lost cow again. They all laughed. Crime was almost non-existent in New Eden. Dan's biggest challenges were usually lost livestock or helping children retrieve balls stuck in trees. Any word from Earth? Dan asked. The monthly supply ship isn't due for another 2 weeks, Jake answered. But we hardly need it anymore. We're producing surplus food and materials. Lisa looked proud. We've become completely independent. I remember when we first arrived 15 years ago. We had nothing but prefab shelters and basic tools. Now look at us. Jake gazed across the colony. Beautiful houses lined tree-covered streets. The hospital had expanded 3 times. The school had just added a new wing for advanced science classes. The community center hosted concerts and festivals every month. We've built something special here, Jake said. A place where people can live in peace and raise their families safely. Suddenly, Dan's radio crackled. Chief Cooper, we're getting some strange readings on our sensors. Long-range scanners show multiple objects approaching the system. Dan frowned. That's odd. We're not expecting any ships. He spoke into his radio. Are they broadcasting identification codes? Negative, Chief. They're not responding to our hails, and there are a lot of them. Maybe 30 or 40 ships. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. 30 ships? That's not a supply convoy. Lisa looked worried. Pirates, maybe? But we're so far from the trade routes. Dan shook his head. Pirates don't travel in fleets that large. This is something else. They hurried to the command center, where technician Mary Wilson was staring at her screens with growing alarm. Sir, these ships are huge. Much bigger than anything we've seen before. And they're not human designs. Jake's heart began to race. Not human? You mean alien, sir. Definitely alien. The ship designs don't match anything in our database. How long until they reach us? Don asked. Mary checked her instruments. At their current speed, about 2 hours. Jake immediately activated the colony's emergency communication system. This is Administrator Morrison to all residents. We have unidentified ships approaching our system. This is not a drill. All civilians should remain indoors and await further instructions. He then opened a channel to the approaching fleet. Unknown vessels. This is New Eden Colony Administrator Jake Morrison. You are entering human space. Please identify yourselves and state your intentions. For several minutes, there was only silence. Then a harsh alien voice responded. Humans of New Eden, I am Admiral Kexthara of the Zephyrian Empire. You have built your colony in territory that belongs to us. You will evacuate immediately or face the consequences. Jake felt his blood run cold, but he kept his voice steady. Admiral, we established this colony legally according to interstellar law. We have territorial rights here. We're peaceful settlers, not invaders. Interstellar law means nothing to us, the alien admiral replied coldly. This system belongs to the Zephyrian Empire. You humans have spread too far into our space. We will not tolerate your presence. Please, Admiral, Jake pleaded. We have 50,000 people here, including children. Many of them were born on this world. This is their home. Surely we can reach some kind of agreement. The alien's voice became even colder. We do not negotiate with inferior species. You have 1 hour to begin evacuation. After that, we will cleanse this system of your contamination. Lisa grabbed Jake's arm. Jake, we can't evacuate 50,000 people in 1 hour. We only have a few small transport ships. Dan was already working at his console. I'm trying to send a distress signal to Earth, but they're jamming our long-range communications. Jake tried again. Admiral Kexthara, evacuation is impossible in such a short time. We need at least several days to organize safe transport for our people. Please, show some mercy. Mercy is for equals, the alien replied. You are not our equals. You are pests to be exterminated. The communication channel went dead. Mary looked up from her sensors, her face pale. Sir, they're moving into attack formation. Energy signatures are off the charts. Dan grabbed the emergency broadcast system. All civilians to emergency shelters immediately. This is not a drill. Seek cover in the underground facilities. Jake watched in horror as the alien ships spread across the sky above New Eden. They were massive, dark vessels that blocked out the sun. A beautiful morning had turned into a nightmare. Sir, Mary said quietly, I'm detecting weapons charging. Multiple ships are targeting our population centers. Jake made a desperate decision. Mary launched the emergency beacon. Record everything that happens here. If we don't survive this, at least Earth will know what happened. Lisa was crying now. All those families, all those children, they've never hurt anyone. The first beams of energy struck the colony. The school exploded in a ball of flame. The hospital where Lisa had saved countless lives was vaporized instantly. The community center where children had played and families had celebrated was reduced to ash. Jake watched his life's work burning around him. 15 years of building, growing, and creating a peaceful home was being destroyed in minutes. The aliens were not just attacking military targets. They were deliberately targeting civilian areas. They're monsters, Dan said, his voice shaking with rage and grief. Jake activated the colony's final transmission. This is Jake Morrison, administrator of New Eden Colony. We are under attack by the Zephyrian Empire. They are committing genocide against unarmed civilians. If anyone receives this message, please tell our families on Earth that we fought to protect our home until the end. The administrative building shook as energy beams struck all around them. Through the windows, Jake could see families running in terror, trying to find shelter that no longer existed. The last thing Jake saw was little Tommy Johnson, the boy who had said he never wanted to leave New Eden, crying as he searched for his parents in the burning ruins of their farm. Then everything went white as the building collapsed around them. New Eden was gone. Admiral Kevin Hayes was drinking his morning coffee when the emergency alarm sounded throughout Earth Defense Command Headquarters. The piercing sound made him jump, spilling coffee on his uniform. In 30 years of military service, he had never heard that particular alarm. It meant only one thing: a colony was under attack. He ran to the command center, where dozens of technicians were working frantically at their stations. His assistant, Captain Amy Parker, met him at the door. "Sir, we just received an emergency. Beacon from New Eden Colony. It's bad, sir. Really bad." Kevin's stomach dropped. New Eden was one of humanity's most successful colonies, home to 50,000 peaceful settlers. What kind of attack? Pirates? Hostile aliens? Aliens. Sir, they call themselves the Zephyrian Empire. Sir, you need to see this recording. Amy led him to the main viewing screen. The image was shaky at first, showing the interior of New Eden's command center. Kevin could see Administrator Jake Morrison trying to negotiate with an alien voice. "Please, Admiral," Morrison pleaded in the recording. "We have 50,000 people here, including children. Many of them were born on this world. This is their home. Surely we can reach some kind of agreement." The alien's response chilled Kevin to the bone. "We do not negotiate with inferior species. You have 1 hour to begin evacuation. After that, we will cleanse this system of your contamination." "My God," Kevin whispered. "They're talking about genocide." The recording continued. Kevin watched in horror as the alien ships opened fire on civilian targets. The school exploded first, then the hospital. The community center where children played was vaporized. The aliens weren't just attacking military targets. They were deliberately murdering innocent people. "Turn it off," Kevin said quietly. "But—" Amy shook her head. "Sir, there's more." Morrison managed to record the entire attack. Kevin forced himself to watch as New Eden burned. He saw families running in terror, parents trying to shield their children from the energy beams. He saw the farms where people had worked for 15 years reduced to ash in minutes. He saw children crying as they searched for their parents. In the ruins. When the recording ended, the command center was silent. Kevin's hands were shaking with rage. "How many survivors?" he asked. "None, sir. The aliens made sure of that. They spent 6 hours systematically destroying every building, every shelter, every hiding place. 50,000 people, sir. All dead." Kevin closed his eyes, trying to process the magnitude of the massacre. 50,000 innocent civilians, murdered simply for existing. Children who had never hurt anyone, vaporized by alien weapons. "Get President Ross on the secure line," he ordered, "and wake up every member of the Colonial Council. They need to see this." Within 2 hours, President Helen Ross was sitting in the emergency session room, along with the 12 members of the Human Colonial Council. The same recording played on the main screen, and Kevin watched their faces change from confusion to horror to rage. "This is genocide," said Councilmember Charles Miller, his voice shaking. "Pure and simple genocide." "Those children," whispered Councilmember Susan Clark. "They killed children deliberately." President Ross stood up slowly. "Admiral Hayes, what do we know about these Zephyrians?" "Not much, Madam President. This is our first contact with them. Based on their ship designs and weapons, they're technologically advanced. They seem to view humans as inferior and consider our expansion into space a threat. And they think the solution is to murder entire colonies," said Councilmember David. "Brown, what kind of monsters are we dealing with?" Fleet Commander Steve Walsh spoke up. "Madam President, our intelligence suggests the Zephyrians have never encountered serious resistance. They're used to weaker species submitting to their demands. They probably expected us to simply abandon our colonies." "Well, they were wrong," President Ross said firmly. "Admiral Hayes, I want options. Military options." "Madam President," Charles Miller interrupted, "shouldn't we try diplomacy first? Perhaps we can negotiate." "Negotiate?" Kevin exploded. "Did you see that recording? They called our children contamination. That needed to be cleansed. They murdered 50,000 innocent people without a second thought. What exactly would you like to negotiate? Miller looked uncomfortable. I just think we should exhaust all peaceful options before. They exhausted peaceful options when they started murdering children, interrupted Council Member Patricia Adams. This isn't a border dispute or a trade disagreement. This is genocide. President Ross raised her hand for silence. Admiral Hayes, can we track down the ships that attacked New Eden? Yes, Madam President. Our long-range sensors detected the Zephyrian fleet leaving the New Eden system. They're heading back toward what we believe is their home territory. How? Many ships? 43 vessels, including the flagship. It's a significant force, but not their entire fleet. Steve Walsh leaned forward. Madam President, we've been monitoring alien communications. The Zephyrians are calling the New Eden. Attack a successful cleansing operation. They're treating it as a celebration. The room fell silent. Kevin felt sick to his stomach. The aliens weren't just killers. They were proud of murdering innocent people. They're celebrating, President Ross said quietly. They destroyed 50,000 lives, and they're celebrating. There's more, Madam President, Amy Parker said. We've detected Zephyrian scouts near 3 other human colonies. It appears they're planning additional attacks. More colonies? Miller asked in horror. How many people are we talking about? New Boston has 30,000 residents. Harborview has 25,000. Peaceful Valley has 15,000. All civilian populations, mostly families and farmers. President Ross stood up, her face hard as stone. Gentlemen, ladies, we have a decision to make. We can try to negotiate with genocidal aliens who celebrate the murder of children, or we can protect our people. What are you proposing? Asked Councilmember Robert Taylor. I'm proposing we send a message the Zephyrians will understand. Admiral Hayes, I want you to mobilize the entire colonial navy. Every ship, every weapon, every trained soldier we have. Kevin nodded grimly. Yes, Madam President. It will take time to assemble such a force. How much time? To gather our full strength. 8 to 10 months, minimum. Do it. An admiral? Yes, Madam President. I want overwhelming force. I want a fleet so large and powerful that the Zephyrians will never again think of humans as inferior. I want them to learn that murdering our children has consequences. Charles Miller looked alarmed. Madam President, surely you're not suggesting genocide in return? I'm suggesting justice, Mr. Miller. The Zephyrians have shown us exactly what. They think of human life. They've shown us that they will continue to murder our people unless we stop them. But if we sink to their level, we're not sinking to their level, President Ross said firmly. We're not going to target their children or their civilians. We're going to target their military, their ability to commit genocide against innocent people. Amy Parker spoke up. Madam President, what should we call this operation? President Ross looked at the frozen image on the screen. Little Tommy Johnson crying in the ruins of his farm. Call it the Fleet of Vengeance. Because that's exactly what it is. The vote was unanimous. Every member of the Human Colonial Council agreed. The Zephyrian Empire had to be stopped. Kevin left the meeting with his orders. He had 8 months to assemble the most powerful military force in human history. 8 months to prepare for a war that would determine whether humanity would survive in the galaxy, or whether they would become another footnote in the Zephyrian Empire's history of genocide. As he walked back to his office, Kevin thought about Jake Morrison's final words. Please tell our families on Earth that we fought to protect our home until the end. We will, Kevin said quietly. And we'll make sure New Eden is remembered forever. The Fleet of Vengeance was being born. Captain Rick Turner stood on the bridge of the UCS Retribution, watching the most incredible sight he had ever seen. Spread out before him in the vast darkness of space were 500 human warships, the largest military force in human history. Each ship represented months of preparation, sacrifice, and determination. "Sir, the final squadron has arrived," reported Lieutenant Commander Beth Williams, his tactical officer. "The fleet of vengeance is now at full strength." Rick nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. As captain of the flagship, he would lead this massive fleet into battle against the aliens who had murdered 50,000 innocent people. "Commander Paul Johnson, report on our weapon systems." Rick ordered. Paul looked up from his engineering console. "All systems are operating at peak efficiency, sir. The quantum disruption torpedoes are loaded and ready. Our new shield generators are showing perfect performance." Rick smiled grimly. The quantum disruption torpedoes were humanity's secret weapon. While the aliens had energy shields that could stop lasers and plasma weapons, they had no defense against weapons that could twist space and time itself. "Beth, show me the fleet composition one more time." Beth activated the main display screen. "Yes, sir. We have 100 heavy cruisers, each armed with our most powerful weapons. 50 dreadnoughts like the Retribution, built specifically for this mission. 150 destroyers for fast attack runs. 100 frigates for reconnaissance and support. And 50 carrier ships launching 2,000 fighter craft. Then the crews? Volunteers from every human colony, sir. When word spread about New Eden, people came from across human space to join us. We had to turn away twice as many volunteers as we could accept." Rick felt a surge of pride. Humanity had come together like never before. Engineers had worked around the clock to build new ships. Scientists had developed new weapons. Soldiers had trained day and night to prepare for this moment. Admiral Kevin Hayes appeared on the communication screen from his command ship. "Captain Turner, are you ready for final briefing?" "Yes, sir. The Retribution is ready to lead the fleet." "Good. Transmit to all ships. Final briefing in 1 hour. I want every captain to understand our mission clearly." An hour later, Rick sat in the briefing room with the other 499 ship captains. Admiral Hayes stood at the front, his face serious but determined. "Ladies and gentlemen, in 12 hours we will begin our journey to the Zephyrian homeworld. This is not a mission of conquest. This is not a mission of revenge. This is a mission of justice." Captain Maria Santos from the cruiser Phoenix raised her hand. "Sir, what are our rules of engagement?" "Excellent question, Captain." "We will target military installations, warships, and weapons facilities only. We will not target civilian populations, schools, hospitals, or residential areas. We are not like the Zephyrians. We do not murder children." Captain John Davis from the destroyer Vigilance spoke up. "Sir, what if they use their civilians as human shields? Then we find another way to complete our mission. We will not sacrifice our humanity to defeat our enemies. The moment we start targeting innocent people is the moment we become no better than the monsters who destroyed New Eden." Rick felt a chill of pride. This was why humanity would win. Not because of superior weapons or larger fleets, but because they knew the difference between justice and revenge. "Sir," called Captain Lisa Martinez from the carrier Defender, "do. We know how strong their defenses are. Intelligence suggests they have approximately 200 ships defending their homeworld. They're larger than our ships, but our weapons are more advanced. More importantly, they're not expecting us." Admiral Hayes activated a holographic display showing the Zephyrian homeworld. "This is Kethmora, their capital planet. It's defended by orbital stations and a fleet of warships. Our target is their third fleet, the same ships that attacked New Eden." The room fell silent. Everyone knew that the third fleet was commanded by Admiral Kexthara, the alien who had ordered the genocide. "Admiral." Hayes Rick said. What about their civilians? Are we going to warn them? We're going to do something better, Captain. We're going to show them what real strength looks like. We're going to demonstrate that humanity can destroy their military while protecting their innocent people. Captain. Sarah Walker from the Frigate Guardian raised her hand. Sir, what's our exit strategy if things go wrong? Captain, things won't go wrong. We have trained for 8 months. We have the best ships, the best weapons, and the best crews in human history. But more than that, we have something the Zephyrians don't have. What's that, sir? We have justice on our side. We're not fighting for territory or resources. We're fighting for the memory of 50,000 murdered people. We're fighting to ensure that no other human colony suffers the same fate. Admiral Hayes looked around the room. I want each of you to remember why we're here. Remember Jake Morrison, who tried to negotiate peace even as his colony burned. Remember Lisa Grant, who saved lives until the very end. Remember little Tommy Johnson, who just wanted to stay in his home? Rick felt tears in his eyes. Everyone in the room had seen the recordings from New Eden. They all knew the names of the people who had died. The Zephyrians think we're weak because we value life. They think we're inferior because we show mercy. They're about to learn that our strength comes from our compassion, not from our weapons. Captain David Kim from the cruiser Avenger asked, Sir, what if they try to negotiate once they see our fleet? Then we'll listen to what they have to say. But remember, they had the chance to negotiate before they started murdering children. They chose genocide instead. They chose to call our people contamination that needed to be cleansed. The room buzzed with angry murmurs. Every person there had lost friends or family members in the New Eden massacre. Sir, Rick said, what's our message to the galaxy? Other alien species are watching to see how humanity responds to genocide. Our message is simple, Captain. We will protect our people with overwhelming force, but we will never become the monsters we fight against. We will show the galaxy that humans can be both strong and compassionate. Admiral Hayes stood up. Ladies and gentlemen, you have your orders. Return to your ships and prepare for departure. In 12 hours, we begin the journey to Kethmara. The fleet of vengeance sails for justice. As the captains filed out, Rick felt a hand on his shoulder. It was Captain Jennifer Brooks from the Dreadnought Thunderbolt. Rick, are you ready for this? Leading 500 ships into battle? Rick looked out at the massive fleet through the viewport. Jean, I've been ready. Since I saw that recording of New Eden, those children deserve to live in peace. We're going to make sure their sacrifice wasn't in vain. And if the Zephyrians have more ships than we expect, then we'll fight harder. This isn't just about winning a battle, Jean. This is about showing the galaxy who we are. We're not conquerors. We're not genocidal maniacs. We're protectors. Beth Williams appeared at his side. Sir, all ships report ready for departure. The fleet is awaiting your orders. Rick activated the ship-wide communication system. All ships, this is Captain Turner. Aboard the Retribution, we sail in 1 hour. Remember your training, remember your duty, and remember why we're here. We carry with us the hopes of every human colony, the memory of New Eden, and the promise that justice will be served. He looked out at the 500 ships one more time. Each one represented the best of humanity, their technology, their courage, and their determination to protect innocent life. Paul, engage the quantum drives. Plot a course for Kethmara. Course plotted and laid in, sir. Beth, signal the fleet. All ships, prepare for quantum jump. All ships report ready. Sir, Rick took a deep breath. In a few hours, they would be in enemy territory, facing an alien empire that had committed genocide against defenseless people. But they would not be alone. They carried with them the strength of every human world, the memory of every person who had died at New Eden, and the promise of justice. Execute jump. The stars stretched into lines of light as the fleet of vengeance disappeared into quantum space, carrying 500 ships and the hopes of humanity toward their date with destiny. Admiral Kexthara was enjoying his morning meal when the alarms began screaming throughout the Zephyrian homeworld. He had been celebrating for 3 months since the successful cleansing of the human colony. The inferior species had been eliminated, and the galaxy was a cleaner place. What is the meaning of this noise? He demanded, his forearms gesturing angrily at his aide. Sir, long-range sensors are detecting a massive fleet approaching Kethmara. The number of ships is ... unprecedented. Kexthara's scaled face twisted. In confusion. Impossible. No species in this sector has a fleet large enough to threaten our homeworld. Sir, the ships are human design. The words hit Kexthara like a physical blow. Human? That cannot be. We eliminated their colony. They are weak, cowardly creatures who flee at the first sign of conflict. Sir, we're detecting over 500 ships. They're massive, heavily armed, and they're moving directly toward our position. Kexthara rushed to the command center of his flagship, a Zephyrian dreadnought Dominator. Through the viewports, he could see his third fleet docked at the orbital stations around Kethmara. His ships were being repaired and resupplied after their victorious campaign against the human vermin. Show me these approaching ships, he ordered. Main display screen activated, showing the most terrifying sight Kexthara had ever witnessed. A wall of human warships stretched across space, more vessels than he had ever seen in one place. They were moving in perfect formation, their weapons powered and ready. By the gods, whispered his tactical officer, there are so many of them. Kexthara. Confidence began to crack. How many ships do we have ready for battle? Sir, most of our fleet is in dock for repairs. We have perhaps 60 ships that could fight immediately. 60 ships against 500? Kexthara's voice rose in panic. Contact the Emperor immediately. We need reinforcements. Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the human fleet. Put it through. The screen filled with the image of a human male in military uniform. Admiral Kevin Hayes looked directly at Kexthara with cold, determined eyes. Admiral Kexthara, I am Admiral Kevin Hayes of the Human Colonial Navy. 3 months ago, you murdered 50,000 innocent people at New Eden Colony. Today, justice has come for you. Kexthara tried to maintain his composure. Admiral Hayes, surely we can negotiate. The destruction of your colony was a military necessity. We can discuss terms. You called our children contamination. Hayes interrupted. You called their murder a cleansing operation. You celebrated genocide. There will be no negotiation. Admiral, you must understand, we Zephyrians are the superior species. It is our right to control this sector of space. Your people were trespassing on our territory. High's expression didn't change. You're about to learn what superior really means. The transmission ended. Kexthara turned to his weapons officer. Target their flagship. Fire all weapons. Sir, they're too far away. Our weapons can't reach them at this range. Then move closer, you fool. But even as Kexthara gave the order, the human fleet began its attack. A first wave of ships moved forward with incredible speed and precision. Captain Rick Turner, leading the assault from the Retribution, watched his tactical display with satisfaction. Beth, target the docked ships first. They can't maneuver while they're in port. Targets locked, sir. Quantum disruption torpedoes ready. Fire. The new human weapons streaked across space, leaving trails of twisted energy. When they struck the Zephyrian ships, the results were devastating. The aliens' energy shields, designed to stop conventional weapons, were useless against attacks that warped space itself. Kexthara watched in horror as his third fleet was destroyed while still docked. The same ships that had murdered the people of New Eden exploded one by one, their crews vaporized instantly. Sir, our shields are useless against their weapons. We're losing ships faster than we can count them. Impossible. Our technology is superior. We are the dominant species in this sector. Sir, they're not just destroying our ships. They're targeting our orbital weapons platforms too. Kexthara looked at his tactical display and saw the truth. The human fleet was systematically destroying every military installation around Kethmara. Their attack was precise, calculated, and overwhelmingly effective. What about our planetary defenses? He demanded. Sir, the humans are targeting military installations only. They're not firing on civilian areas. This confused Kexthara. Why would they spare our civilians? We showed no mercy to theirs. On the Retribution, Rick Turner was coordinating the assault with deadly precision. Paul, status report on the quantum torpedoes. Operating perfectly, sir. The Zephyrian shields can't adapt to our space-time distortion technology. Beth, are we maintaining our targeting restrictions? Yes, sir. We're only hitting military targets. All civilian areas are being avoided. Rick activated the fleet-wide communication system. All ships continue the attack. Remember, military targets only. We are not like the enemies we fight. The battle was completely one-sided. The Zephyrian ships that managed to get into space were destroyed within minutes. Their weapons couldn't penetrate the new human shields, while the human quantum torpedoes cut through alien defenses like they weren't there. Kexthara's flagship shuddered as human weapons struck its hull. Sir, we're losing power. Hull breaches on multiple decks. Retreat! Signal all ships to retreat. Sir, there's nowhere to retreat to. They've surrounded the entire system. Admiral Hayes appeared on the communication screen again. Admiral Kexthara, your fleet is finished. Surrender now, and I'll spare the lives of your remaining crew. Never. We will fight to the last ship. Then you'll die to the last ship. But your crews don't have to die with you. Kexthara's tactical officer spoke quietly. Sir, perhaps we should consider silence. I am Admiral Kexthara of the Zephyrian Empire. I do not surrender to inferior species. Hayes nodded sadly. Then you've made your choice. The human fleet concentrated its fire on the remaining Zephyrian ships. Within an hour, the entire Third Fleet was destroyed. The same aliens who had celebrated the genocide at New Eden were now floating debris in space. But Rick Turner had one more message to deliver. He activated the communication system and broadcast to the entire Zephyrian homeworld. People of Kethmara, this is Captain Rick Turner of the Human Colonial Navy. Your military has been destroyed because they committed genocide against innocent people. However, we are not like your leaders. We do not murder civilians. We do not target schools, hospitals, or homes. The broadcast reached every Zephyrian on the planet. For the first time in their history, they saw an alien species that was both more powerful and more merciful than their own empire. Your Third Fleet murdered 50,000 innocent humans, including children. They called it a cleansing operation. Today, justice has been served, but we will not sink to their level. We will not become the monsters we fight against. Rick looked at the burning wreckage of the Zephyrian fleet. This is what happens when you target innocent people. This is what happens when you commit genocide. Remember this day, and remember that humans protect all innocent life, even yours. Admiral Hayes opened a channel to the Zephyrian government. Emperor Vexthal, your Third Fleet has been destroyed. Your military installations around Kethmara have been eliminated. You have two choices: surrender unconditionally, or watch us destroy every military asset in your empire. The Emperor's response came within minutes. I surrender. The Zephyrian Empire surrenders unconditionally. Wise choice, Hayes replied. You will face trial for the genocide at New Eden. Your military will be disbanded. Your people will learn to live in peace with their neighbors. Rick Turner looked out at the debris field that had once been the Zephyrian Third Fleet. Justice had been served, but the cost was still too high. 50,000 innocent people were still dead, and no amount of revenge could bring them back. Beth, send a message to Earth. Tell them the mission is complete. The Fleet of Vengeance has achieved its objective. Yes, sir. What about the Zephyrian survivors? Rescue them. Give them medical care. Show them what real strength looks like. As the human fleet began rescue operations, Rick thought about the galaxy watching this battle. Today, every alien species would learn that humans could be both powerful and merciful. They would learn that attacking innocent people had consequences, but that humans would never become the monsters they fought against. The Fleet of Vengeance had delivered justice, but more importantly, it had shown the galaxy who humanity really was. 6 months after the battle at Kethmara, Captain Rick Turner stood in the Memorial Hall aboard the space station that now orbited where New Eden once existed. The walls were covered with 50,000 names, each one etched in quantum-resistant metal that would last forever. Tommy Johnson's name was there, along with Jake Morrison, Lisa Grant, and every other person who had died in the massacre. Sir, the dedication ceremony is about to begin. Lieutenant Commander Beth Williams said softly. Rick nodded, his eyes still focused on the memorial wall. Beth, do you think we did the right thing? Destroying their fleet, but sparing their people? Sir, we showed the galaxy who we really are. We're not conquerors or killers. We're protectors. Admiral Kevin Hayes joined them, wearing his formal dress uniform. Captain Turner, the representatives are here. It's time. Rick turned to Sia. Gathering unlike anything in galactic history. Ships from dozens of alien species filled the space around the memorial station. The Andrali Federation had sent their entire diplomatic corps. The Crystalline Collective had dispatched their most senior ambassadors. Even species that had never contacted humans before were present. Admiral, I still can't believe how much everything has changed, Rick said. The battle changed everything. Rick, when the galaxy saw us destroy the Zephyrian fleet, but refused to harm their civilians, they realized humans were different from every other species they'd encountered. Commander Paul Johnson approached with a data pad. Sir, the final reports from the Zephyrian reconstruction efforts. Their military has been completely disbanded. Emperor Vexthal has been replaced by a civilian government. They're requesting permission to join the Galactic Peace Council. Rick smiled. 6 months ago, they were committing genocide. Now they want to join a peace organization. That's what real strength does, Admiral Hayes said. It doesn't just defeat enemies. It transforms them. They walked to the main ceremony hall, where hundreds of beings from across the galaxy had gathered. At the center of the room stood a holographic display showing images from New Eden's peaceful years. Children playing in parks, families working in gardens, people building homes and schools. Ambassador Sarah Cole, humanity's new representative to the Galactic Council, stepped forward to address the gathering. Friends, we gather today, not to celebrate victory, but to remember loss. 50,000 innocent people died here simply because they wanted to build peaceful lives for their families. The alien representatives listened in respectful silence. Many of them had species who had suffered under Zephyrian aggression in the past, but we also gather to remember that in their darkest hour, humanity chose justice over revenge. We chose protection over destruction. We chose to be better than our enemies. A figure stepped forward from the crowd. It was former Emperor Vexthal, now wearing simple civilian clothes instead of royal robes. He had insisted on attending the memorial ceremony despite the protests of his own people. Admiral Hayes, Captain Turner, I know I have no right to speak here. My empire committed terrible crimes. I personally ordered the expansion that led to the genocide at New Eden. The room was completely silent. Rick felt his anger rising, but Admiral Hayes placed a calm hand on his shoulder. I cannot bring back the people we murdered, Vexthul continued, his voice shaking. I cannot undo the pain we caused, but I can promise that the Zephyrian people will spend the rest of our existence trying to make amends. How? Rick asked, his voice hard. By learning from you. By teaching our children that strength comes from protecting the innocent, not from destroying them. By becoming the kind of people who would have protected New Eden instead of attacking it. Ambassador Cole stepped forward. Former Emperor, your presence here takes courage. Your people's transformation gives us hope. It is not courage, Ambassador. It is shame. Shame that it took the destruction of our fleet to teach us what humanity knew all along, that real power protects life, it doesn't destroy it. And Andrali. Ambassador raised her crystalline hand. Captain Turner, may I ask you a question? Of course. When you had our enemies helpless, when you could have destroyed their entire civilization as they destroyed New Eden, why did you show mercy? Rick thought for a moment. Because the moment we started killing innocent people would be the moment we became like them. We couldn't honor the memory of New Eden's children by murdering other children. A murmur of approval rippled through the crowd. The Crystalline Collective's ambassador spoke next. Captain, humanity has changed the balance of power in this galaxy. Other species now look to you for leadership. What will you do with this responsibility? Admiral Hayes answered. We'll do what we've always done. We'll protect those who cannot protect themselves. We'll stand against genocide and oppression. And we'll show the galaxy that true strength comes from compassion, not from cruelty. The ceremony continued with speeches from representatives of dozens of species. Each one pledged to work with humanity to build a galaxy where genocide would never happen again. They spoke of the New Eden principles, the idea that military power should protect innocent life, not destroy it. After the formal ceremony, Rick found himself alone with the memorial wall again. He stopped at Tommy Johnson's name, remembering the little boy who had said he never wanted to leave New Eden. Tommy, I hope we made you proud, he whispered. Sir? Beth Williams had approached quietly. Just saying goodbye, Beth. We're leaving tomorrow to return to Earth. Sir, Admiral Hayes wants to speak with you before you go. Rick found the Admiral in his temporary office aboard the memorial station. Through the viewport, he could see the construction ships working on New Eden's replacement colony. This time, it would be defended by the most advanced weapons humanity could build. Rick, sit down. I have some news. Good news or bad news, sir? Good news. The Colonial Council has voted to make you the first commander of the new Galactic Protection Fleet. Ships from 12 different species will serve under your command. Rick was stunned. Sir, I'm not sure I'm qualified to command alien ships. Rick, you're the captain who led 500 ships into battle and refused to target civilians even when fighting genocidal enemies. If that doesn't qualify you to protect innocent life, nothing does. What about the Zephyrians? Are we sure they've really changed? Admiral Hayes activated a holographic display showing reports from across former Zephyrian space. Look at this. They've disbanded their military. They're using their weapons factories to build hospitals and schools. They're sending aid to species they used to oppress. And if they backslide, if they start building weapons again, then the Galactic Protection Fleet will be there to stop them. But Rick, I don't think they will. You've seen how their former emperor acts now. They're genuinely ashamed of what they did. They want to be better. Rick thought about the transformation he had witnessed. The same aliens who had celebrated genocide 6 months ago were now working to heal the damage they had caused. Sir, what? About Earth? Are we ready for this kind of responsibility? Rick, Earth has been ready since the day we decided to protect New Eden's memory instead of just avenging it. We're not conquering the galaxy, we're teaching it. The next day, as the Retribution prepared to depart for Earth, Rick received a final message from the memorial station. It was from a group of young Zephyrians who had volunteered to help with the reconstruction efforts. Captain Turner, we are the children of those who committed genocide. We cannot change what our parents did, but we can choose to be different. We are learning your language, studying your history, and trying to understand how to protect life, instead of destroying it. Thank you for showing us that strength and mercy can exist together. Rick smiled as he read the message. This was why the Fleet of Vengeance had been worth it. Not just to punish the guilty, but to inspire the innocent. Beth, set course for Earth. It's time to go home. Course laid in, sir. Quantum drive ready. As the Retribution jumped to hyperspace, Rick looked back one last time at the memorial station. The names of 50,000 innocent people would shine in the darkness forever, reminding the galaxy that every life mattered. But more importantly, those names had taught the galaxy something new, that real strength protected life, that true power showed mercy, and that the greatest victory was not defeating enemies, but transforming them into friends. The Fleet of Vengeance had sailed for justice and found something even more valuable. They had found the path to peace. In the years that followed, historians would call it the New Eden moment, the day humanity showed the galaxy that the strongest species was not the one that could destroy the most planets, but the one that could protect the most lives. And in quiet classrooms across the galaxy, teachers would tell children the story of Tommy Johnson and the 50,000 people of New Eden, and how their sacrifice taught the universe that every innocent life was worth protecting. The Fleet of Vengeance had completed its mission. Justice had been served, mercy had been shown, and the galaxy would never be the same. Rick Turner smiled as Earth appeared on the view screen, knowing that Tommy Johnson would have been proud of what they had accomplished in his memory.